Fast forward, any come out China so how age politics are very podcast or the pen book is making headlines. And a gem right now, EDB Aksumo, Awaha, and EDB Rock Simus, and EDD can share so much subscribe to the channel, notification bell, so share now Afro France or answer into me and Kevin EDB Rock Simo, young political highways, a Jadama, Unia any Assam Koto Accra. Namanoka say, a Pabna Edu Boahen, and any day, and Amanoka say, Ija go muchim or quarter any asem Kotoakra. And I'm not say the High Court etimi assets a 14th January 2026 say a better a year assembly so na afi Yahweh ye to sign a body hono Okoka Akudru. Now
Court has set January 14, 2026 to rule on a review application by the Deputy Attorney General regarding portions of its earlier decision in the case of the former Signals Bureau Director Kwame Boahen and his wife Angela Ejay Boateng. The Apex Court earlier dismissed an application by Mr. Boahen seeking to prohibit the trial judge from further hearing the case. Let's bring you some other matters right now because Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman this morning chaired an interministerial meeting in Accra as part of efforts to drive the government's digitalization or decentralization agenda. The meeting aimed to review progress and address challenges in implementing the National Decentralization Policy and Strategy 2026 to 2030.
The meeting enables us to reaffirm our commitment to placing decentralization at the heart of development and accountable governance in line with our Constitution. I am pleased to know that today's meeting includes an orientation session. This is designed to give all of us, especially our ministers, a clear understanding of the National Decentralization Policy Framework and Strategy, the workings of the IMCC, and the key decentralization reform agenda, and as well the strategic approaches we will employ to implement them effectively.
During the meeting, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman emphasized the need for strict accountability in the use of the District Assembly's Common Fund, ensuring resources translate into tangible improvements in citizens' lives. She highlighted the government's commitment to deepening local governance.
We must therefore treat the completion of administrative and functional devolution in health and education, and of course the road sectors too, as a national priority. The credibility of the decentralization program depends on delivering results in these key sectors, and I am confident that the ministers concerned will work particularly closely with the IMCC Secretariat to accelerate these reforms. The formulation of the National Decentralization Policy and Strategy 2026 to 2030 has been completed and will be presented to this committee today. The new policy and strategy document provides a coherent roadmap across 6 thematic areas: political decentralization, administrative decentralization, decentralized planning, fiscal decentralization, local economic development, popular participation, and accountability. Successful implementation requires collective ownership, strong political backing, technical commitment, full sectoral alignment, and effective coordination. Every ministry represented here has a critical role to play. The NDBC, the civil service, the local government service must harmonize standards, planning systems, staffing structures, and accountability mechanisms.
Back to Parliament over that particular matter involving the disruption in business yesterday, and the majority says it will begin processes to refer members of the minority who attempted to cross carpet yesterday to be referred to the Privileges Committee for violating standing orders of the House. The Legislative Chamber was a place of chaos yesterday when the minority opposed the continuation of the business of the House, drumming and chanting as the majority counterparts proceeded to consider government business. The development at some point nearly degenerated into fisticuffs when some minority MPs attempted to take the disruption of business a step further by crossing over to the majority side who were considering bills and some motions. Reacting to the development, Majority Chief Whip Roxy Nelson Dapiamek would describe the conduct of his NPP colleagues as shameful. Speaking on the 3FM Sunrise, he stressed action will be taken against the MPs.
The report has been laid. It's a matter of prioritizing it to be taken. And so having hinted, in fact, you've averted my mind to it. So I believe that today at conclave, it may come up that report needs to be taken. Because if we don't do that, then perhaps the public won't take Parliament quite serious, especially given what happened yesterday. You have come to say that the clerk had no power. The clerk cited the constitutional provision in pursuance of which he issued a letter. Yet you won't have none of it. Because of that, Parliament must close. I mean, Parliament must close because you disagree with a decision. And when we insist that no, some business must be done, they won't have it. So they actually cross over from their side, cross the aisle, which is an abhorrence in Parliament, and they were threatening to attack us, the majority front bench.
And the curious question is, are there no causes of action within your standing orders to deal with what it is we saw yesterday?
That's why we are saying that these matters will be seriously raised this morning. We'll start sitting from midday.
Yes, 12.
And so today, I'm sure if you follow us, the matters you are raising here will receive some attention on the floor.
And Ghanaians can look forward to a bit more decorum in terms of what happens on the floor of the House, because it's been quite...
You see, we can't compel MPP to be decorous. We cannot compel them. It's conduct. If they decide to be disruptive, that is... And it's become a group habit. Look, when we're in opposition, we disagreed. The only time that we participated in a stampede was when we were electing speaker and they wanted to have their way and we refused.
That's Majority Chief Whip Roxy Nelson Dapiamek. Well, let's take it to Parliament right now. Our start expectation is that some members of the minority may be referred, as he disclosed to us a lot earlier. Christian Yalis, my colleague in Parliament for us. Let's connect with him on the expectation ahead of sitting today. Christian, thank you very much for joining us. Let's start off with the House. I suspect members have begun to make their way onto the floor. What's been the reaction on the back of what happened yesterday, the conversation in and around the chamber?
Eric, as of now, I see the Minority Chief Whip, Frank Anadompre, in the chamber. He started all of this yesterday by making that urgent statement concerning this matter of the KPandai Parliamentary election rerun. He is here, and as well, a number of members of Parliament have already started trooping in. And when you engage the minority side, they maintain their position from yesterday that they would continue to insist on getting the notice to the Electoral Commission withdrawn before they can give maximum cooperation to allow government business to proceed on the House. And so it is one that you would want to call a high-stakes meeting that is just about to come up in the chamber. And that, as it were, it also presupposes or means that you would want to look forward to the possible direction of the speaker as well. Yesterday, he had indicated that because of the noise in the chamber, minority side, he would have to give reports of of members verbatim to be put.
Christian, the connection to you, the phone connection to you is just tripping slightly. If you could just reposition for us so that you round up on that submission for me, please.
Eric, is it better now?
Much better.
Yes, so I was just saying that you would expect a possible direction from the Speaker, who by now should have been able to review the official report, which captures what exactly happened yesterday, for him to make a directive whether he is going to affirm the notice to the Electoral Commission or he would say otherwise. But Eric, interesting to note that, over the period, for some days now, Parliament has been using the robotic cameras. Now, today, it seems that they are bringing back the regular or the usual cameras with people going to manually handle the cameras. And I have heard instructions being given out that each of the cameramen be given a talk back so that they are able to hear instructions. It presupposes that there has been some level of engagement backdoor or some directives that have been given to continue to more or less like control how things happen today on the floor. So we look forward with high anticipation what is likely to unfold today.
And so from the minority, the indication is that they will continue in this manner to seek to disrupt government business until the letter from the clerk is withdrawn. Is that the indication we're getting?
That is the indication. And as they indicated yesterday, they are going to go on this tangent for at least the next 1 week. And Eric, you know that somewhere around December 19th, the House should be able to pass the appropriation for them to rise for recess. What it means is that this is also a crucial activity that should be done for government to undertake its fiscal activity in the next year. And so it is very important that a lot of the estimates that are still hanging are considered for the House to be able to pass the appropriation. And so if things unfold the same way as they did yesterday, then the majority side would have to still go ahead to approve the estimate just as they did yesterday in the midst of all the chaotic things that we witnessed.
Right then, I know as well that the Transport Minister, Joseph Boahen, has announced that a minimum of 8 buses will be deployed along 4 major road corridors starting from today to help deal with traffic congestion. Just talk to us briefly, then we can hear exactly what he's been saying.
Exactly. So, Eric, this is coming on the back of complaints that the ministry has received, but there are some drivers who, during peak hours, charge unapproved fares, also because you would have a lot of commuters stranded along major bus terminals and other stations. And so the ministry has set up a task force with numbers that have been made available to ensure that those drivers who charge unapproved fares are dealt with and then sanctioned. And so that is the announcement that the minister has made today, that beginning today and from 4:30 p.m., they are going to, deploy or employ some of the 8 buses each on the 4 corridors. We can take a listen to what Joseph Boahen has been saying.
That the ministry has made for the conveyance of our passengers or our commuters to their various stations. And they will operate mainly from the bus stations or terminals. They operate mainly from the bus stations or terminals. They will not be on the road. However, if they are from a station and at a point it is not full and passengers are along the street, they will still pick those passengers. But they operate from all the major stations or terminals.
And you think the regular fares as dictated by the union?
Yes, the fares that the unions collect are the approved fares. That is what they are willing to take to.
Honorable, thank you so much. Join you to get.
And that is the Transport Minister, Joseph Boahen, in that interaction with some members of the press. Let's bring you by the numbers right now.
They enter nursing school with dreams of saving lives, but for many of Ghana's graduates, the journey ends not in a hospital ward, but on a waiting list. Since 2015, the number of students entering nursing and midwifery training has climbed steadily, creating a wave of qualified professionals the system is struggling to absorb. As the backlog grows and frustration deepens, the situation has now reached a breaking point. Today, more than 43,000 trained nurses remain at home unemployed. On Tuesday, a group of these unemployed graduates, nurses, marched through the streets, pouring out their frustration in a fresh demonstration calling for immediate employment. Let's take a listen.
The struggle of an unemployed nurse is real. It's not a crime to be a nurse in Ghana, so we shouldn't always undermine the nurses and midwives in Ghana.
What crime? Is it a sin to be a nurse? Is it a sin? Come on, look at me, a grown up. I'm having grey hair. I want my 40s. I'm not even working. I don't even have a family. Come on, please, please. I don't know.
How I am unemployed. My colleague too is unemployed. He is also dependent on someone. So how will it be if we are going to depend on one person?
As I'm talking to you right now, it's like they've put pepper in my heart.
But this is only the latest in a long series of protests by health professionals who say they have waited years for financial clearance and placement. Their message is the same. They are trained, ready, and needed, but not working. Let's look at what the numbers tell us. Mahama Egbeta is here with the very latest. Mahama, what are we learning from this whole debacle with the nurses, employment, and inability to absorb them in the system?
Well, it's a double header, if we want to call it that, because there's a problem of what has existed in the past, what is the case now, and the fact that we're in an IMF program as well, which limits as well government expenditure. And we'll take all of this, you take all of this to Austin Gama, who's a labor expert as well. But let me just try and paint that picture properly. Then we can use that as basis to get into our conversation. And so currently we have over 48,000 unemployed nurses in the country, right? 48,000 unemployed nurses. And let's try and do a breakdown or a walk through memory lane in terms of why this number. Because previously we used to have nurses being bonded. That's the case where the government puts you in a bond, your paid allowances and some others that when you complete, you're bonded, you cannot do any other thing but to work for the government. That ended somewhere around 2017. But it didn't stop persons from continuing to go into nursing training institutions and for us to continue to mass produce nurses on a large scale. But in 2020, we saw a bit of absorption because COVID came by and it needed a lot more health personnel and we were stretched. And so if you look through 2020, 2021, a lot of the budget and expenditure went towards delivering and ensuring that the country did not suffer the harm that COVID was threatening us with. Then to 2021, 2023, that surge in terms of a demand of health workers plummeted because then there was no fear of the virus killing as many individuals as possible. And so that slowed as well the pace with which employment would take place. Then, of course, came the economic crunch. And so it meant as well financial clearance then will become a difficulty for the government. Then we entered into the IMF program in 2023, which introduced that aspect of a conditionality which didn't give the government the free room because we had to cut down on expenditure massively. We had debts to renegotiate amongst many other things, and brings us to this point where 13,500 have been hired. Some have not received their pay. There's that crisis which is beginning to creep in terms of payroll. And so what are the main issues we're talking about? Mass production, overproduction versus demand. It's not the case that and that first point is very important that we lay bare a few more details. It's not that we do not need the nurses, but we do not have the financial muscle to absorb them. And so that becomes a bit of a problem. That's why there's overproduction versus demand. The demand is needed, but the demand, there's a monetary problem which doesn't allow us do that. Then there's the no intake caps, the no...
We ain't some who let me cause what channel so. I'm not so Jim or had a senator body in the Edomian.